Now, I'm Irene Everson from Nearly Wild Weaving. My colleague Anna Wetherall and I were lucky enough to support Joan Baxter when she came up with the idea to run this project. But as you can see, there's one of me. So this is me being Anna. This is me being Joan, because unfortunately neither of them are well. Now, I am totally unqualified to be Joan. I have no idea what she was going to say, so I'll step back this way. We were really honoured when Joan approached us to say she had an idea for an online, a virtual tapestry weaving project, but that, you know, from her side of things, that, you know, the technology was going to be a little bit, you know, too much for her. She wanted to be able to concentrate on the sort of the art and the tapestry weaving side, and would Anna and I help? So, you know, that was a very easy answer. Yes. Of course, we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into, and I have to say it has been a brilliant experience, and I am completely gutted that neither Anna nor Joan are here. But Nita is filming this. So what we had in mind for this afternoon was to be able to introduce you to many of the weavers who have come, and a few weavers just to have a few words about their experience of being part of this. So if I just give you an outline, and then a few people can talk about their experiences. So Joan's idea was to have a composite work so that we would have 15 individual tapestries, but that were all united by having a single line of water through it, and that we would all be weaving a river that was either local to us or in some way had some meaning for us. So that was a really interesting challenge in itself. We invited applications because we had no idea how many people would want to take part in it, but had a feeling that it could actually perhaps be quite a number of people. And when you're putting together a number of different people's tapestries, there's the how do they fit together? Can you make them fit together into a composite whole? So part of the application process was making sure that people had the kind of basic technical level that Joan wanted. She wasn't looking for people to be absolutely amazing weavers, but you needed a certain level just to be able to do the kind of quality of work she had in mind. But also she wanted to have a look at people's design styles to try and ensure that the group that we brought together could work with one another and come up with something that would work as a whole piece. So I have to say that was a really big challenge that Joan managed so sympathetically, so well. You know, she was sort of coaching us along. So we had our first get-together online in late summer 2021. We were a bit ambitious as to how long we thought it was going to take us. We had plans for 5 online full group sessions, and then for each participant to be able to have at least 2 one-to-one sessions with Joan over the Zoom, one at the design stage and one at the actually doing it stage. Bearing in mind that we hadn't done this thing before, we weren't entirely sure how it would work, so every now and then we sent a little survey out to participants to say, you know, are we doing okay? What should we be, you know, what should we be improving? So we did learn that getting the timing of the one-to-one right at the design stage with Joan was really important. Do better. So, but Joan was really flexible, so people who ended up having had their design one-to-one at the wrong time, Joan then enabled them to have another one to kind of make up for it. We all had ideas on the theme, we went away and we did our designs, we brought them together, and during one of the Zoom sessions Anna was doing wonders with a PowerPoint presentation, fiddling around trying to work out what order they best sat in as designs, and the answer that we came up in that session is what you now see in front of you. And we then split into kind of 3 smaller groups that we could meet in between the big online groups so that we could talk to our neighbours and start to get a feel for how we would try and meld our piece with the people around us. And then I think all of us worked fairly closely with our immediate neighbours to think about how we could work together, whether that was through colour or through shape or through pattern, and I think there were some really interesting discussions on that. And then in the background we had an opportunity for people to be able to keep in touch with each other. It was something called groups.io, so that if you've got a question, we were worrying about something, you could pop it up and ask, and hopefully somebody else within the group would come back with an idea of saying, well, here's how you can approach it, or have you thought about doing this? And that was lovely, and everybody was really supportive. So, you know, those of us who perhaps felt left confident about what we were doing could get support from others. You know, even the most experienced among us, I think, found it helpful to get ideas from other people and see how people approach the work. So I think we all learnt a huge amount from it. What I'm going to suggest is that for the weavers who are here, if you could just sort of say your name and stand by your tapestry. You don't need to do any more than that at this point. Then for any of you who then want to have a word with any of the tapestry weavers, you'll know who belongs to which tapestry. And then for the people who aren't here, I can tell you whose they are. I am absolutely bowled over by the weavers from overseas who've come to join us. So we've got people from the Netherlands, the States and Canada who've come, which is just wonderful and completely unexpected. And then once you can see whose tapestries are who, there are 3 weavers who very kindly agreed to say a few words about their experience of being part of this, and I'll hand over to them. So,
should we just start with number 1, 2?
Yeah, so I'll give an example.
This project, weaving tapestry is a very solitary activity and design. And actually this project allowed me to experience other weavers wherever they come from and to connect us with this line. I am very interested in different cultures, and each of these tapestries actually tells a little bit about different culture. My tapestry has to do with the river Danube, where I was born. Danube is a huge river and quite mighty river, so all these waves that we see, you usually see in Danube, but mine is a still water, because I did all the weaving into the surface of the water as I remember it as a child. I was born in Belgrade, where Danube is huge, and there is a couple of rivers getting together there, but there are also islands, and in the winter time the water is still there, and I would stand on the bank and watch this water, so you can see the sparkles going into that water. So each one of us, as a tapestry weaver, weave ourselves into a tapestry, and we are connected with not only our line, but everything else that was involved in this project. I feel like we are Waterline family now. So it has been very gratifying and enjoyable, and I'm very glad that I was able to make a trip and be here today.
and a little bit about the rivers, and then me in my canoe kind of taking pictures, and then this picture here, I'm sorry it's all the wrong way around, it's actually the headland which I based my design on. And then we did artwork together and submitted all our, had to photograph everything and submit it in advance of meetings. And these are just design ideas. And as we got a little bit further along, we did little maquettes of where our waterline would be. And that's where we decided where everybody's pictures were going to be, where the weavings would sit. So somewhere along here is where I was put with all the proposed ideas, and then wrappings, and finally the weaving process, because I was a bit panic-stricken at the end because the first deadline was when it kind of stretched out a little bit. And it's just been so amazing to meet all the real weavers, having seen you all, you know, on the Zoom meetings, and know your design processes and everything. It's been a real honour to work with you all. And I can't say thank you to Joan and Anna, but I can say thank you to Irene.
I will pass on your thanks.
It was a brilliant, brilliant experience.
Thank you.
Beyond my expectations.
Oh.
Yes, thank you.
Project and mine?
Just one of your experience of the project.
Okay.
Yeah, this is very informal. Very.
It was a wonderful project to be involved in with international people, bringing us together at a time when we couldn't really get together, and even in normal times we can't travel, and every time you want to talk about your design. So Zoom worked really well for that, and having Anna and Irene organizing everything, and Joan's mentorship really helped us all figure out our designs. I think the whole thing allows everybody to be an individual and have their individual expression while we're collaborating in getting the waterline together. And we have had discussions with our neighboring person to see if, you know, are there anything in common that we can do? And Veronique they suggested she might put rocks in, but then there's no rocks in her landscape. There's no rocks, and mine's full of rocks. So that was not the solution. We've got some common greens and blues and grays and things. That's what we came up with. And then we were trying here with Kathy to get some of the lines to kind of match up in the water and some of the colors. Yeah, and mine is the Englishman River, which is close to where I live in Parksville, and there are great big rocks and sand and dirt, and there's more rocks in the river, and there's more rocks on the other side, and then there's some forest with trees and a bit of the sky there. And it changes in different seasons. This was early spring when I went down and took the photographs and worked from that. But in the summer there's less water, in the spring and winter there's more water, if there's been a rainstorm there's more, so it's always changing. And then it's been really wonderful to come together, to travel and meet a lot of the weavers and get to know them.
Thank you so much.